As they stepped inside that old abandoned house, the creaking floorboards beneath their feet seemed to echo through the deserted hallway. The air was thick with the scent of decay and rot, making their stomachs churn. Wine clutched onto Sandra's arm, her eyes wide with fear. Guys, I don't like this. Let's go back, she said. But Sandra and Leah, who loved doing thrilling things in their lives, pushed her forward. Their flashlights casted shadows on the walls. Come on, if this is an old house, what's the worst that could happen? Silence dominated the entire house. Suddenly, their flashlights started to flicker and died after some seconds of confusion, leaving them in complete darkness. They froze, and their hearts began to beat in the same rhythm. And then they heard it, a mournful whisper seeming to come from all around us. Get out while you still can. What was that? Leah asked them, looking around in fear. But we already knew the answer to their question. Who was it? Wine tried to speak, but her voice caught up in her thought. They are trapped in there, with only them and an unknown force that disappeared after leaving them in shock, defenseless in a house that seemed to keep them there forever. As they stood there paralyzed with fear, the whisper appeared again, but this time it seemed to grow louder, more stronger than before. Get out while you still can, darling. Vine screamed in fear. Suddenly the lights flickered back to life, casting a glow over the room. Vine blinked her eyes to slowly adjust to the light. Vine's POV. That's when we saw it, a figure, tall and imposing, standing at the end of the hall. We couldn't see his face because of the long white cap he wore, but we were 100% sure that it was of a guy. I don't know if I can tell this at a time like this. He was quite handsome to look at though. I wonder how his face would look, but he is still a ghost. A ghost. Sandra screamed as she saw the figure, her voice piercing the air. Leah grabbed Vine's arm, who was still looking at that figure, amused. We have to get out of here, now! But Vine's feet seemed rooted to the spot. She couldn't move a step forward. She couldn't look away from the figure, even with her eyes full of tears. He began to move towards us with a slow, deliberate pace. As he came closer, the whisper grew louder, more insistent. Get out while you still can, darling. I repeat, while you still can. And then Wild fell down unconsciously onto the floor. Wine's POV. As I came to, I found myself lying on the floor, my head throbbing with pain. Sandra and Leah were nowhere to be seen, but I could hear their faint screams echoing through the halls. As I struggled to my feet, my eyes scanning the sadness for any signs of my friends. But I was alone. The figure was gone. But I could feel its presence still, watching me from the shadows. I stumbled forward, desperate to find Sandra and Leah, but every door I opened led to darkness, more shadows. It was as if the house itself was shifting and twisting, determined to keep me trapped. And then I heard it, a faint whisper in my ear. You should have listened, darling. Now look, you're trapped here with me. Suddenly, the light started to flicker again, and few seconds later, it came back to life, and I found myself face to face with him. He was as handsome as his appearance, but he is a ghost. His eyes were black as coal, and his skin was so pale with a boxy smile on his face. I tried to scream, but my voice was frozen in my throat as before. He began to step closer towards me. His eyes was burning with intensity. I tried to step back, but my feet couldn't move. He touched my face, and I felt a wave of darkness wash over me. His hands were so cold. Suddenly, I was flooded with visions of my deepest fears and darkest memories. His single touch showed me all the things I had tried to keep hidden, all the secrets I had kept locked away. I felt my mind reeling, my grip on reality began to slip. He leaned towards me more. His breath was cold and seductive. "You will never escape from me, Wine," he whispered. "You will never be free from me." That's it, I fainted unconsciously, but this time into his hands. When I opened my eyes, I was in my bed. Suddenly, I thought about Sandra and Leah. I quickly got up and started searching around my house, calling their names. But there was no answer. I reached the front door and flung it open, revealing a bright sunny day. The sky was blue, and the birds were singing, and the air was fresh and clean. It was as if the horrors of the night had never occurred. But as I stepped out into the sunlight, I felt a chill run down on my spine. On the porch, in letters scrawled in red, was a message: "Remember, I'm always with you, and you will never be free from me." I stumbled backwards, my eyes fixed on the message. It was the same words that he whispered into my ears. Suddenly, I heard a faint whispering in my ear: "You will be never free from me. You will never be free from me." That was all I could hear echoing in my ears. His voice was raspy and soft, and it seemed to be coming from all around me. I spun around, trying to locate the source of this voice, but there was no one there. The whispering grew louder and louder. I closed my ears and I ran back to my room. As I reached my room, I took my phone and called Sandra and Leah to make sure if they were okay. Hearing that they are fine and safe in their own house, I felt relieved. The whispering can no longer be heard too. I fell down onto my bed and wrapped the blanket around me. I felt safe being surrounded by the familiar comforts of my own home. It was as if the entire experience had been just a dream. Then my eyes fell onto the mirror in my room. That's when I noticed something that will boil my blood. On my mirror, in letters scrawled in red, was the same message: "I'm already here watching you." I froze, my heart racing as I stared at the message. It was the same handwriting, the same words as the message on the porch. I threw off the covers and stumbled out of the bed, my mind reeling with questions. How did the message get here? Was I losing my mind? I stumbled to the bathroom, flipping on the light switch. The bright light was a shock to my system, and I blinked rapidly, trying to clear my vision. As I looked in the bathroom mirror, my mind lost its control. The same message as I saw in my room. But the message on the mirror was changing, the letters shifting and reforming into a new message. "Welcome home, darling," it read. I spun around, but I was alone in the bathroom. I turned back to the mirror, and the message was changing again. "I have been waiting for you." I stumbled backwards, my eyes fixed on the mirror. The message was changing again, the letters shifting and reforming into a new message. "You will never escape." I spun around, trying to get away from the mirror. The message was changing again. the letter shifting and reforming into a new one once more, then around. Suddenly, the mirror exploded in a shower of glass. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. I landed hard onto something. The wind knocked out of me. As I struggled to catch my breath, I saw him, standing behind me, through the shattered glasses. I turned around in shock and looked at him. "Welcome home," he whispered into my ears in a low and menacing voice. He moved close towards me, fixing his eyes on me with an unspeakable hunger. I tried to scramble backward, but I couldn't move as usual. I was trapped, alone, and helpless, with no escape from the horrors that surrounded me. I regained my courage and asked him, "Who are you?" Curious to know about me? "I'm King Taehyung from far away from here," he whispered into my ears. It sent a shiver down to my veins. "What do you want from me?" I asked weakly. "Nothing you can offer to give me," he said. "What does that mean?" I asked in confusion. "In simple words, I want your soul. In complex words, I want to take you to my world," he said. I didn't get it. What does that mean? You are a ghost. What are you doing here?" I tried to touch him, but I couldn't. "I think you did not hear what I said properly, Miss Vine." He leaned more closer towards me, brushing his lips on mine. "What is he? Sometimes I can feel his skin on me, and sometimes I can't. I would not come with you. Just stay away from me and leave me alone," I said, looking at him. "You entered into my house without permission. I warned you, but you didn't hear it. You deserve to be punished for that. For your friends, the punishment had already started. But since you earned a special place in my soul's heart, I came to face to give you the punishment," he paused. "Remember, whatever you do and however you try to escape from me, I will take you to my world," he whispered, looking into my eyes. Suddenly the light faded and dead, and he vanished into thin air. I screamed in horror, and everything went black later. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by the beeping of the machines and equipment, the sterile smell of antiseptic. I saw my parents and a nurse who was standing beside me, with concern etched on their face. "Welcome back," she said. "You have been asleep for some time. Do you remember what happened?" I tried to speak, but my voice was hoarse and barely audible. I shook my head, trying to clear the spider webs inside my brain, and then I saw it, a message scrawled on the hospital room mirror in red letters. "I am still with you." I screamed, my voice echoing off the hospital room walls. The nurse rushed to my side, trying to calm me down. "What is wrong?" Concern etched on her face. "What do you see?" I pointed to the mirror, my hand shaking. The nurse turned to look, but there was nothing there. No message, no writing, just a blank mirror staring back. The nurse turned back to me, a look of confusion on her face. "There is nothing there," she said. "You must have been dreaming." But I knew what I saw, and I knew that I wasn't alone. He was still with me, watching me, waiting for me. I tried to tell the nurse, but she just smiled and patted my hand. "You are safe now," she said. "You are in the hospital. Nothing can hurt you here." But I knew that wasn't true. The hospital was just a building, a physical structure that couldn't protect me from the horrors that lurked in front of me. And then I heard it, a faint whispering in my ear. I am still with you, darling. I spun around, trying to see who was whispering in my ear. But there was no one there. The nurse was still standing beside me, a look of concern on her face. "What is wrong?" she asked, but I shook my head. Nobody would understand me, even if I tried to say something. I knew that I had to get out of here, to escape the hospital and from the one who was haunting me. I threw off the covers and swung my legs over the side of the bed. The nurse tried to stop me, but I pushed her aside. I had to get out of there, no matter what. I stumbled out of the hospital room into the bright lights of the hospital corridor. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to keep moving. As I stumbled through the hospital, I saw strange and terrifying things: patients with twisted and distorted faces, nurses with black eyes and cruel smiles. I knew that I was losing my mind, and the horrors that haunted me were driving me to the brink of madness. And then I saw it, a door at the end of the corridor with a sign that read "Exit." I stumbled towards the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew that if I could just make it out of the hospital, I might be able to escape from the horrors that haunted me, and also from him, from Kim Taehyung. But as I reached the door, I heard a voice behind me. "You will never escape. Then why are you keep trying?" he said. I spun around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to be coming from all around me, echoing off the walls. And then the lights went out, plunging me into darkness. I was trapped inside the darkness, unable to move or escape. "Don't waste both of our time," he repeated. And then the door slammed shut in front of me, trapping me inside. I was alone, surrounded by the darkness and him who was haunting me. I knew that I was doomed, trapped in a living nightmare from which I might never awaken. I pounded on the door, screaming for help, but my cries were muffled by the thick walls. There is no escape from him now. The lights came back, and I saw him coming closer towards me. As I stood there, frozen with fear, I heard his voice against my skin again. "You will never escape," he whispered, the words echoing in my mind. Then he vanished. No sight of him anywhere. I took a sigh and stumbled forward, my hands outstretched in front of me, trying to find a way through the darkness as the light died again. But every step I took seemed to lead me deeper into the heart of madness, towards Kim Taehyung. I stumbled and fell, skinning my knee on the cold, hard floor. As I struggled to feet, I heard a sound of footsteps echoing through the corridors. They were heavy, deliberate footsteps, and they seemed to be coming closer and closer. I knew that I had to get out of there, to escape the hospital and from him, but as I turned to run, I saw a figure standing in front of me. It was him, his eyes locked onto mine, and his hands wrapped around my waist. "Now, as I catched you, shall we go to our new home, darling?" he said in his deep voice, which is also seductive, and he took me in his hands. I couldn't scream or call for help because before I could do anything, he vanished into thin air with me in his hand to somewhere beyond this wall.